Hello, my name's Ben, and I played Grim Fandango for the first time 12 years ago, 13 years ago, something like that. And it's one of the games that I'm most identify with me growing up. I wouldn't I'd say it was also one of my favourite games, but it probably wouldn't go in the list because there's so much stuff that I've enjoyed for a lot more reasons since then. But it's something that I've basically memorised. And I just finished my first playthrough of the remaster. And I enjoyed it for a bunch of reasons that I enjoyed the original game, and I disliked it for a bunch of reasons to do with it being a remaster and some of the stuff I felt like they could have done and they didn't do. But I liked a bunch of other stuff about it as well, and I'm going to go through that as I play through it, which brings me to the point. I'm going to play through the Grim Fandango remaster. And I'm going to talk about my experience of the game and what I think of it. I am going to kind of talk through the cutscenes and talk during the dialogue and that sort of thing. So it's kind of, if you've never seen the game before, you don't know anything about it. I'd recommend first that you play it. It's about £10 on Steam. It's definitely worth that much if you've never played it before. If it was just a basic game and had none of the remastered stuff in it, it would be worth a tenner. The remastered stuff doesn't take anything away. I just feel like they could have improved on it more, which is something I'll go into more later on. But if you are familiar with the game, if you played it before, maybe you haven't played it in a long time, but you know what it's about. I'm just going to kind of go through it, talk about what I think about it, and how it affected me kind of growing up, that sort of thing. It's also the first thing I've really done on YouTube. I figured it might be interesting. If it's not, you'll probably never see this video, or you'll just see this one, and then the next videos will all be me dancing around in my underwear or something else that's guaranteed hits. So let's get on with it. We'll see how it goes. I've turned the subtitles on, haven't got the... in fact, no, I do have it on. I'm going to turn it off right now. In the special features menu, there is the director's commentary, which I've now turned off. I haven't actually listened to that yet, so there might be some stuff in there that's about what I'm talking about, but I haven't listened to all of it. I had a look at it a few minutes ago just to see what it was like, and I'm planning on going back and playing the game with that on at some point, but I really wanted to get this done because I thought it'd be something interesting and I had it on the mind. Anyway, so we'll go into a new game and we'll see what it's all about. So Double Fine are the guys who remade it, because Tim Schafer is now with them. It's the company he made. LucasArts are the guys that made it originally. I love that little transition. So LucasArts always had that golden logo, but then the skeleton logo was just for Grim Fandango, the name of the game. Love this little intro sequence because just that single frame with the four banditos and the cigarette dash tray. That's harkened back to very at the end of the game, and I love that kind of stuff. So you come right in, you get Celso here, and Manny Calavera, the main character of the game, dressed as a Grim Reaper. Both of them just have incredible voice acting, and that's something that's just all the way through the game. Just constant. It's always brilliant. And it's one of the reasons it so much appealed to me when I was younger. And games with reasonable voice acting, up to very good voice acting like Grim Fandango, those are the kind of things that I always got into. Because it was just so much easier to identify with the characters, and because I was at the age where it was the very late 90s, early 2000s when I was really getting into games, and understanding what they were about. And voice acting was just coming into its own at that point, so we'd already kind of got past the PlayStation 1 era, and we were getting into the PS2 and that sort of thing, where people could actually afford voice acting. And that's one of the things I love about it. So the interesting thing about this little scene here is these three things. You do actually do all three of those during the game. You drive a car, you end up on a boat, and then you do eventually end up on the number 9 train, for varying different reasons, and it's kind of inverted on itself. It's different from the way that it's presented here. And we see here, I just always loved that joke, just the progress bar going up beneath 0, like, oh man, Celso's so bad. But it's kind of interesting how that's kind of displayed as one of the worst things you could possibly get, and I would still say Celso has a better fate than one of the characters we'll meet later on. And he gets this walking stick, which is lovely, and ends up... it's referenced a few times in the game, and him getting it is important for his kind of character as he goes forward. There's a bit where you meet him later on, and when we get to it I'll point it out, but if he hadn't been given a walking stick he probably wouldn't have got that far, for example. And that kind of thing runs all the way through the game. There's so much stuff that just references itself forward. And it's foreshadowing, but it's intelligent foreshadowing, and obviously that's important when it comes to puzzles as well, because it is an adventure game. There are puzzles in it. I'd say the puzzles are probably one of the weakest parts of it, but that's because it's an a 90s adventure game. That's just true of absolutely all of them. The foreshadowing is important for both telling the story and telling a nice kind of, I wouldn't call it cyclical, but self-referential story that sets itself up and never feels like there's Deus Ex Machinas in there. And in the puzzles, there's like a puzzle that's referenced about halfway through this first act, games in 4 acts, that is then, the payoff for that is right at the end of the game. It's one of the, it's maybe about a third of the way into the 4th act. But I consider it kind of one of the final puzzles of the game, because it's one of the more, one of the ones that you kind of have to think about a bit more compared to some of the ones that are after that. So I'm going to use the point and click controls just because my keyboard's quite loud. I don't want to use the tank controls, but I do have some stuff to say about the tank controls that I'll probably get onto later. But first of all, we should probably get on with the game. So this first little scene here, I love these tubes.
Looks like I got a message.
I'd never seen anything like them before when I first played the game. And they're just kind of weird future tech, I would call it, but apparently it's not. Apparently it's something that used to exist.
It's some sort of special
and that people used before emails.
All agents from
and so this is Carla.
Right, you boneheads.
Right.
Thank your lucky stars and get to your
And whenever, so she was reading out the start of the memo, but then this is your boss, because he was the one who was actually writing it, and this is the way they do the letters all the way through the game. There aren't that many of them, but it's a lovely little detail. Of just, again, kind of attaching you to characters, because the voice acting is so strong, it's something that you immediately identify with all the... it's something that identifies characters better than their models themselves, because so if you look at it now, obviously, you know, this is reasonably high definition, looks very good, but if we go back to the original version, love that you can switch between them like that. Now, all the characters are of this definition, all of them in the entire game. You cannot tell them apart at certain points, particularly if you're a very young person when you first played it, like I was. And so, that's just another little detail, it's another great thing about the voice acting. So, Manny's computer's over here. You don't have to use this. I was telling him to pick it up. Oops, 1 second. So if you try and use it, there's so many details like this in the game, and this is because it's a LucasArts adventure game. You never have to find any of this out, but it's just little bits of detail and little lines of dialogue, and those lines of dialogue are so important. Again, because the voice acting is so strong and the rest of it... because the voice acting and the characterization is so strong, is what I mean. The little details like that really help to flesh out the world. So this little bit where he comes towards you there, I always remember that because the original version of this game never ran particularly well, and so it would hang between loading screens, not massively, but for a little bit. And so I always got that shot of him walking out. I'll do it again, of him walking out and his face just sticking, just coming towards the camera, and then so he opens the door, and then just a bit of his face sticking in the top left-hand corner of the screen for a certain amount of time. So that's lovely. It just always stuck with me because I've played this game so many times when I was younger. It's the first character you ever talk to here. We'll just, there we go.
Buenos dias.
Manny, why aren't you at the poisoning?
She's immediately just like, what are you doing here? And
What poisoning?
The code
I think it's brilliant.
gazpacho poisoning that everybody's at but you.
I had no
Why
idea
do
what
I send out
gazpacho was
memos
when I
if
was
nobody
younger.
reads them?
I did read the memo, come on. And you can you can chat to her as much as you like or as much as you don't want to. And that's true again of all the characters in the game.
Where was the
You can have these conversations with them, or you can just kind of get on with the game if you know what you're doing, or if you're particularly smart and you work out the puzzles as you go. But you'll miss some incredible stuff if you never
Any messages for me?
if you never talk to all the characters and go through all their
I only have one other
their
message
dialogue
for you,
options,
Manny.
because
I'm not your secretary.
there's so much
take
character
your
again
messages,
crammed into
so get
there.
it through your
Like
thick
here's
skull
Carla
and
getting
stop
really angry
forwarding
with you
your phone
about
to me.
being her
All
secretary,
right.
and that kind of runs
That
through the
sounded
game.
more like 4 messages to me.
And is gone on about in later stages of the game when you meet her again.
Busy as ever, I see.
And you can
I
also
have
just
more
give
work
people a
to
hard
do
time,
if you had
and
more
I love doing that in
clients.
this, just because
Ouch.
Manny Calavera, he's not an
Where is
arsehole,
everybody?
but he
Oh,
is.
Manny, did you forget what day it is today?
He's just
Oh,
kind of
man, did I
compulsive
come
in
in
the
on
way he likes to
Saturday
talk to
again?
people.
It's the Day of
and,
the Dead.
he lies to
Everybody's back
everybody,
in the
and
land
he's
of the living,
manipulative.
visiting their families like we should
Makes
be.
jokes, and I think maybe that may have formed part of the way that I interact with
Well,
people
I gotta go hit the bricks.
Okay.
now. So obviously I forgot something, which is the deck of cards that's in your room here. Unless I've also forgotten where you get the deck of cards, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. I don't know what you're doing, Manny. These point-and-click controls are quite nice. I never had a problem with the tank controls, though.
It looks like a long day of solitaire for me.
I'm also a big fan of how... I wouldn't call it sad, Manny Calavera is, but he's very aware that he's not the greatest person who ever lived. He's quite self-deprecating at times, and again that certainly formed kind of part of the way that I like to think about myself, certainly when I was younger, and that sort of thing. So I'm going to do some stuff kind of will seem quite out of order if you're not familiar with the game, but like I said, you should be watching this if you're not familiar with the game. You should just
Manny,
be playing the
what are you
game.
doing?
Just marking cards, honey.
So if you like examine that ace before you mark it, he'll say, "Oh, I always meant to mark these cards," which just gives you a hint that you can do that. So you come down to the basement here, and I'd say that was probably one of the first times that you see a piece of animated thing within the actual game world, and it looks so weird now because of the remastered character models, and it's very very strange. So if we head over here, we do get to meet the best character in the game. Like there is no better character in this entire game than Glottis, who's the giant orange elemental we are about to meet here.
Not picking that up.
Oh.
It's locked.
Hey, who's messing with my
Here he
stuff?
comes. So Glottis, I identify with him.
Sorry, sir.
He's just a
I didn't
wonderful,
expect sales agents usually don't come over to this part of the garage.
happy,
Hey, you a driver?
giant,
No,
big, like
no,
he's
no.
big
I
in every
don't ride
possible
'em.
way,
Just
right?
wrench 'em.
And that's something I've always loved about him, and I wish that there were more people
Calavera.
that
Manny
were like
Calavera.
Glottis.
My name's Glottis. I don't get
There he
many
goes.
visitors. Hey, I got a message for
and I
Mr.
love his voice
Calavera.
acting is just wonderful.
Your driver said that Mr. Hurley said
Due
that he
to
could have
the
rest of
age of the
day
game,
off.
once again,
Domino sent my driver home.
the
Yeah,
animation
wasn't that
doesn't
nice?
always kind of match up to. It isn't as refined as the voice acting is.
Looks like
But
I
on
need a new
Glottis,
driver.
because of the size of his character, they can animate him a lot better. And even
agree
again,
with
back in the
that.
original version, because all it's really done is
Yes,
HDified
you
the
do.
textures and added a lighting pass.
You want to be my replacement driver?
So even back then, he was a lot more animated,
no.
and a lot
Sorry,
more obviously
Dad.
animated again to my
Rules.
younger self than other characters, and I just love that.
Come on, Glottis.
So here you need
I
to
need you
convince him
my
to be
driver.
your
No,
driver.
I can't.
And Glottis loves
I'm-
driving, as we'll
I'm
discover as
too
we
big.
continue. And then I mean, so this is an example of the kind of thing where I just love Glottis. And so there's the three options here are, you're just right, or you have a self-image problem. When I was younger, I was like, I don't get those. But the cars are too small,
They're not too
that I
big.
understood, and I
The
still
cars are
understand.
just too small.
It's just like the
Yeah,
cars
those
are.
dang compact
those dang compact cars.
Hey, that gives me an idea. I could alter your car.
And
just
these little
a
facial
bit,
expressions you
with
get,
just a quick
they're all the way through the
torch
game,
job
and he
to let
keeps
out
getting
the
different
seams,
ones.
you know?
Although a lot of
Well,
them are kind of
I
based on
got
these ones you're
around
seeing
to
here, with like one
modify
eye
the
squinted or
cars
whatever.
Without a work order from upstairs, I could lose my job.
And
work
those are
order,
wonderful.
Yeah,
Along with,
I
again,
can't
the subtlety of
torch
his voice
anything bigger
acting.
than a
He's got a
cigarette
few
without one of
modes.
these
Like there's one where he's very
signed by the
excited, he's very
boss
loud,
himself.
and then when he's very scared,
That's
he's
my line.
still very loud,
Getting people to
but
sign. Back in a snap.
kind of a bit
Yeah,
more
too small.
rushed.
I'm not too big.
too big.
Everything
Everything around here is just too small.
Too small.
I do love Glottis. And again, so there you see when he goes back in, that's a bit of, I don't know if FMV is the right word, but pre-processed video. And it just looks so strange now with all these updated character graphics. And we'll go into that a bit more as we continue through the game, but it is annoying to me that it's distracting. And some people say, oh, why don't you just, put it back to the original version? It's because, well, the original version doesn't look very good because it's 2015, and as much of it, I want as much of it to look good as possible, and I don't have a problem with the backgrounds, because some people dislike how obviously low graphics the backgrounds are, but it's only in the videos that I have a problem. Like, I mean, obviously this is slightly lower definition, the background, compared to the character, particularly when they're so close, or on the wider shots when they're quite far away, it's very obvious where they are. It's the same on items that you can pick up, because they need to make all those actually pick upable by the character models, and therefore they have their own lighting as well, which is one of the reasons that they stand out so much. But that I don't mind so much, like I don't get distracted by that, but how different stuff looks when it's being animated, and the differences between the pre-processed video looking worse than the actual game is just something that it's so strange to me. This mural, there's a lot of stuff like this in the game. Manny's got a little joke about it, I think. There's a lot of stuff of this kind of art style in the game.
I remember the year they built
and
that,
I just
mostly
really love all
because
that.
it cost so much, we didn't get bonuses that year. Tacaños.
So your first I would say it was your first puzzle, is getting this work order signed so that Gluttus can be your driver and can modify your car. And to do that, you need to head over to the left here, past this mysterious eyeball and grate in the floor, which comes up later.
I don't like the way that eye is looking at me.
Over to this thing of tires. So when I was younger, I had no idea what this was. I was like, what? Why is there a giant inflatable string of ties? Like, I didn't even realise there were ties a lot of the time. I just thought there was this rope here, and I was like, okay, because I played the demo the first time, and you have to use this in the demo, it's part of that. And of course what it is it's Manny's boss, who's escaped from work to... I don't know what he's doing. It's the Day of the Dead. He could be doing anything. He might be meeting with his boss that we meet later. And his name is... so he's Don, because there's Domino and then there's Don. And Don's the head of the Department of the Dead, DOD.
It looks like Don's rigged his computer.
Don, there we go. He's really interesting character-wise. He has really good voice acting as well. So if you go and speak to the secretary, what she says is... to Carla, Ava, whatever. She says, "Well, I'll have to chat with the boss and see what he has to say." Yeah, I did have her name wrong. Carla's from Act 2, maybe. Ava's the secretary. Ava, there'll be a few of these. Ava says to you, "Well, I'll have to chat with the boss." And so he's got this automatic system rigged up that says...
I'll just change his auto-response here.
At the moment it's saying, didn't I say no interruptions today? You can have it say a bunch of different things. And again, like all the old LucasArts games, there's a lot of kind of small jokes hidden in here.
If you buzz me again, I swear I'll jump out this window!
Of course, he already has jumped out the window and headed down on a massive thing of ties for some reason. So, what you wanted to say, of course, is
Ava, just
sign it yourself.
Will you? I'm busy!
And I really, again, when I was younger, I really quite liked that, because it just seemed very, very clever to me, because I love it when things happen automatically without you doing much, like dominoes falling. But so all I'm going to go do is I go speak to Ava. Don't know where this Carla's coming from. Go speak to Ava, and then the puzzle will kind of solve itself because I've already set it up in motion to do what I want it to do. And that really appealed to me when I was younger. And I think this was the first puzzle in the demo. Was to do this, and it just immediately appealed. So if we go speak to Ava, there you go, got her name right now. Come on, Ben, you can do this. Go into the inventory here. I should probably just press the button.
I've got to get this work order signed.
You show it to Ava.
Ava, I really need the boss to sign this work order.
I'll give it a shot.
Probably should have showed this off.
Mr. Copel,
The version
Mr.
that plays if
Calavera
you
has
don't
something
do that
out here
first,
he
she
says
just
he needs
goes.
his signature on.
I need this signed, and he goes, no, no interruptions today. But I really love this piece of FMV.
You have to excuse him, Manny. It's probably a really
Particularly,
hard
sorry, the
call for
cinematic
a
particularly.
in bed today.
Because it just sets up the relationship between these two characters quite well.
I had no idea you had
And I
this
love all
kind
the
of
cigarette
power.
stuff, and I'd never
We all
come
have our
across this
secrets.
kind of media before. I mean, and to be honest, I haven't really since, because I can't really get into it when it's people. There's something about all the skeletons and all that sort of thing that I really, really love. And so here's Klaus working on the car. Oh, I do love him. And Manny with his high heels on. And I was thinking while I was playing this through, man, I'd love to cosplay as Glois, but I don't know how you'd do it. He does look
Yeah,
good.
well,
Who wouldn't look good?
They say black is slimming.
So then we head off to the land of the living. And this I never understood when I was younger. Like I understood the journey there, but once we, I love his ears. It's the ears that do it. They're very animated, like the rest of them throughout the
I
game.
could have walked faster than this.
And when he's scared, they're like twitching, like oh help me. And when he's entertained, they're twitching like oh yes. And when he's in the wind, they're twitching like holy crap, I'm going really fast. So yeah, this I never understood. Honestly, I don't think this makes any sense to this day. But I do kind of like what it's saying, and I've come to appreciate more what this is saying about kind of people from the land of the dead, where everyone looks like skeletons. Don't understand why everyone looks so weird with skin, because skin isn't something that they've got. And again, I love doing this as well, where you can just talk to these people, and it doesn't actually do anything.
It's the fear of death that makes
It
monsters
just
of us all.
makes Manny do these little speeches. Makes their faces change. And I don't know where this came from. I don't know if this was Tim Schafer's mind
Scaring the living is
that brought
technically
this
against
into
the rules,
existence.
but we
I
all
assume
do
that's
it.
probably in the director's commentary, but it's
If I
it's a
scare
wonderful
them to
little
death,
bit.
then they'll become a customer. But I'll get nailed with a
And
conflict
I
of
love
interest rap.
these lines. There's so many of them in the game, but the idea of conflict of interest for death,
It's me,
if he
death.
he
I'll
scares
see
people.
you soon, okay?
And yeah, I just I love that little detail, and like anything else. So interestingly, in the land of the living, it doesn't let you pick anything out of your inventory. You can't really do anything in this room except change these three faces and interact with this strange body on the floor. Spoilers: it is a body, and inside is a skeleton, which is this gentleman. He's very rude. But is also played forward slightly, and I love this little scene with Lois as well.
But we offer several travel package upgrades if you care to.
Cutha, yeah. I want something cheap where I can get some rest. Now that's it.
Ay, ay, ay.
You know, Manny, I could make this car.
He could make the car faster.
If you
And
want
Manny
it.
has no idea what he's
yeah.
getting himself into.
Whatever.
This kind of sets up the whole.
Slam the front into the weeds.
I wouldn't say it sets up the entire game. It's more the. In fact, no, it is kind of this, and the
You'll get plenty of rest this way,
permission
Mr. Martinez.
slip that you got for him so he could do
Padded
that.
by the foam created with
that sets up the
chemicals
entire
and
game,
things
really.
like this.
Along with what the kind of the villains are doing at this time, obviously.
Sorry, Bruno, but you didn't qualify for anything
And
better.
I do
But here,
love Bruno.
have this complimentary mug.
I understand where he's coming from. He's a very angry
Can't you
man,
find me something where I
but
can move my
he
legs?
again, for someone who's such a tiny part of the game, he's so well characterized immediately just by the tone of his voice and the way that he acts. Again, same way that Don is. And obviously they're all kind of caricatures, which helps a lot. And they're caricatures built in this noir style that is obviously very well developed by this point when it came to film and that sort of thing. But I'd never seen anything like it in a game before. Particularly because I hadn't played very many games, but also because there hadn't been very many games made with this quality of voice acting or this quality of writing.
If you haven't bagged a premium before the next sales report comes in, you're out! Out on the street! No
Manny
job,
getting
no way to
his
work
ass
off your
kicked
time. Just
by
your
his boss.
fancy suit and your big smile
And
a
just his
whole lot
fancy
of
suit and
time
his
to
big
kill.
smile. I don't know, I love the look on his
Who you
face and
calling a skunk?
how
Why,
Bruno's all mad at him, and he just slams him down on him, and That's also kind of sets up a part of Manny's character that is that when he gets pissed off, he'll
Sick
just
of waiting around for a good lead. Like it's gonna
he'll just
fly
do
in here
something
tied
and
to a
it'll
brick.
and fix the
It's time
problem,
to
even if
take
it's kind of violent and not very ethical or that sort of thing. So that's the first puzzle, so to speak, the first kind of little section of Grim Fandango. I'm going to end it there because I want to see how this video came out. If you're seeing it, that means that I thought it did okay, I suppose. I'm probably not going to put very much editing into it or any of that kind of thing, so hopefully it looks okay, just kind of raw. Didn't write a script for this, so hopefully I wasn't too repetitive and I made a bit of sense. And I guess we'll see you for part 2 of Ben talks over Grim Fandango while playing it inexpertly. Yeah, that'll do. Bye!